I thought I would make this video to show, I don't know if you could call it an upgrade, but it's definitely an option for my ultimate box joint jig. It will not work on the smaller one. It's just not set up the right way to do it. And that's to add this bar over here that will add some kind of a micro adjustment, I guess you could say. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to use a different size blade than the one that you should be using, which is 1/8 of an inch to cut 1/8 of an inch box joints. In the saw here, I have one that's 0.098, and I'm pretty sure that that cuts a kerf. That's 101. I'm going to try it here. I've got a piece of plywood, and I'll run it through. So I cut it twice just to make sure, and I measured both of them, and they're both measuring 98 thousandths. This blade, actually the teeth, are measuring at 95 thousandths. So realistically speaking, this blade is not suitable for cutting 1/8 inch box joints. It's not big enough. Ideally, you'd want one that cuts it's just slightly bigger than 1/8 of an inch so that you have a space big enough for the finger to fit in comfortably, as long as your saw doesn't have too much run out. I did get an email a while back from Gabor Zambori. I think that's how you pronounce his name. And he had an idea for, it was based on the video that me and Matthias Wandel made about our box joint jigs, and his could cut a 3/16 inch box joint, and mine couldn't, because actually, who needs that size box joint? But he came up with a way to make it do that, and it involved a second locking bar that was added to the deck of the jig that would reposition the carriage at that 1/16 inch extra mark and allow you to cut that 3/16 inch box joint. So I was thinking about that, and I thought that was a neat idea. But I thought that maybe it could be adapted to make it work, or make the jig work, with these smaller blades to work as kind of a fine adjustment. And almost immediately after I got that email and had that idea, I posted a video on my scrap bin channel. There's a link to that in the description, and that kind of shows it, but I didn't really set it up properly. Like, I didn't attach that thing to the jig, mainly because I couldn't think of a good way to do the fine adjustment. I thought it was a valid idea, but I couldn't come up with a really good idea for making fine adjustments on it, and I still can't, not with the space I have here. So what I've done to demonstrate this is I have made a new one, and I added it to the deck here, and what it does is it works exactly the same way as the locking bar does, except that you can adjust how far it goes over. And the idea behind it is that it will pull the carriage over, or push it over, to make up that distance that you need to finish the cut. It's kind of hard to describe, so what I'll do is I'll demonstrate it instead, and we'll see exactly how it works. With the carriage set at the 1 inch position, I have the advance lever set to push it over 1/8 of an inch at a time. So what I would do is I would make a cut at that position, and then what I would do is I push in on this secondary locking lever, and as you can see here, it actually pulls the carriage over that extra little bit to make up for the cut. And then I would make a second cut, and that would finish it off and make it the correct width kerf for the finger to fit into. I know what you're saying. You're saying that's about as clear as mud. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a demonstration. I've got a couple of pieces of board here that I'm going to cut the finger joints in. I'll set those up. The one thing I have to do is set a spacer in, because I have to set the jig at the 1 inch mark. It will not work without that extra bit sticking over for that second locking bar to hook into. Okay, it went smoothly. The one downside of this is you really have to pay attention. You have to do those operations in the right order too, and it's not difficult to mess up. Basically what I was doing was I'm making that first cut, pushing it through, and then I would leave it out there and I would click the secondary locking bar and I would pull the carriage over this way a little bit, and then I would pull it back through the cut to complete, cutting it out. And like I say, you can easily mess that up. So I'm gonna try it and see how it fits. I gotta be honest, it took a while to get this dialed in, but once it's dialed in, it's set and you don't have to worry about it, especially, if you're gonna be using the same blade over and over again. So I'll put this together. And that's not bad. That's a really good tight fit. Like I say, if I wanted to get it any tighter than that, I could. But I think actually this is the right size for glue. So like I said, it's definitely an option if you want to use this size blade, but overall I recommend using either a 1/8 inch blade or going to a larger box joint like a 1/4 inch and using a dado set, because the dado set has the shims that you get with it that will allow you to do all the fine adjustment that you need to dial it in perfectly without messing around with the jig.